Good evening. My name is Janet Fisher Hughes, and I'd like to welcome you to this candidates forum on behalf of the League of Women Voters of Camden County and the Cherry Hill Zone PTA. I will be your moderator this evening. I am on the board of the League of Women Voters of Camden County, as well as of the League of Women Voters of New Jersey, and I am joined by fellow League member, Randy Davis, who will be our timekeeper this evening. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization. This means that we never support or oppose individual candidates or political parties for any elective office. The League of Women Voters welcomes all adult citizens, women and men, and students as young as 16 who support our mission. Membership in the League provides opportunities to be involved in unique activities, including aspects of the political process without running for office or being active in a political party. For example, keeping time and moderating a forum are both valuable and interesting experiences. We'll train you. Registering voters is also rewarding. In a naturalization ceremony, registering new citizens is inspirational. Attending a council meeting wearing a button puts officials on notice that the League is watching. If any of this sounds interesting and you would like to join us, please log on to lwvnj.org to become a member. The League also provides information about upcoming elections. This is provided by our general information website called Vote 411. Search for it. The voter registration deadline for the upcoming election is Tuesday, October 15th. And we want to remind voters that there are three ways they can vote in the upcoming general election. Vote by mail ballot. Registered voters can apply for a vote by mail ballot by following the instructions found at vote.nj.gov or by contacting their county clerk. The deadline for applying for a vote by mail ballot is October 29th if applying by mail. The deadline for applying for a vote by mail ballot in person is November 4th. There are 29 drop boxes throughout Camden County, including 2 in Cherry Hill, that are available 24/7 through the close of polls for receiving vote by mail ballots. Remember, vote by mail ballots cannot be returned to any early voting location or any polling place in this election. In-person early voting is an option that enables all registered voters to cast their ballot in person using a voting machine during a 9-day period prior to Election Day. You can now choose to vote in person when it's most convenient for your schedule. Finally, at a polling place on Election Day, vote in person at your polling place from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. on Election Day. Moving on to tonight's forum and format, I wish to reiterate the League of Women Voters is nonpartisan. Also, it is League policy that the moderator must not be eligible to vote in the election being moderated and therefore should have no personal interest in the outcome. I live in Pennsauken and Randy lives in Deptford. I will now review the basic structure of this evening's forum. The timekeeper, Randy, will give a 15-second warning to candidates by holding up a yellow card. Then she will signal that the response time is up by showing the red card. I will allow candidates to briefly finish a sentence. So please come quickly to a conclusion when your time has run out. Time may not be banked nor given to another candidate. In this election, we have a total of 10 candidates, 9, all of whom are vying for the three-year term. One of the candidates is an incumbent, and 9 of the 10 candidates are here with us this evening. The forum will begin with opening statements followed by audience questions submitted in advance by Cherry Hill voters. We will end with closing statements from each of the candidates. I will remind all candidates to please stick to the issues relevant to the office of the Board of Education and not bring in personal matters or other matters unrelated to the office. And All right. So we will begin with opening statements, and we have selected the order of this with the candidates in advance of this forum. The candidates will speak in the random order, and they will have 90 seconds with a 15-second warning. And we will begin with Ava Friedel.
Good evening. My name is Ava Friedel. I am a longstanding member of the Cherry Hill School District, having attended Clara Barton, Carusi Middle School, and graduating from Cherry Hill West, class of 2023. As a recent grad, I am well versed in the current policies and implementation of the policies developed by the board. I have firsthand account of how these policies impact the lives of our students. This understanding will provide me with relevant questions and compassionate consideration as the board adapts or amends our legislation reflects our values as an incredible and inclusive district. Thank you.
Next, David Berkovich.
Good evening. I'd like first to start out by saying thank you. Thank you to the moderator and the organizations that put this forum on. Thank you to the candidates for all coming out tonight and really informing our constituents on why we're running. And that's the biggest thank you, is to everyone logging on, everyone taking the time to view this, and subsequently on YouTube if you're watching this. Thank you for being an informed voter. Like I said, my name is David Berkovich. I'm ballot position number 8, and I'm running to build community together. And what I mean by that is I believe as a board member, the Cherry Hill School District should be engaging in our entire community. We should be engaging all cohorts, regardless of race, regardless of religion, regardless of nationality, regardless of economic status. We're all a part of the same community. We're all a part of the same school district, and it's vital that everyone is engaged. Now, I ask for your vote because I believe I am uniquely situated to deliver that. I'm an attorney. I'm a business owner, and I'm lucky enough to be a father. As a business owner, I wear many hats. I own a small law firm, a successful law firm, and one day I'm doing human resources, one day I'm doing marketing, one day I'm doing larger policy decisions. That's what's required for a Board of Education member, to wear many hats and deliver goals. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Samia Mian. Oh,
I'm number 3.
I'm sorry. I apologize. Thank you. Thank you. Kudzia Niaz.
Hello, my name is Kutsia Niaz, and I've been a Cherry Hill resident since 2005, and I am also a Cherry Hill alumni. I graduated both from Carusi and West. I'm honored to be running for election to the Cherry Hill Board of Education, where I currently serve. As a Pakistani American community organizer, advocate, and member of MOSIN, I've dedicated my life to advancing accessibility and inclusion for all. I moved to the US when I was 2 years old, growing up with spina bifida and a learning disability. Through the support of my family, who worked hard to provide me with the best opportunities, I was mainstreamed in school and became the first in my family to attend college here in the United States. I earned a master's in public administration with a focus on community development, and have been passionate about advocating for those who have been traditionally underserved. Currently, I serve on the board's curriculum and instruction and policy legislation committees. My work with MOSIN and my own experiences have driven me to ensure that every student, regardless of background, ability, or circumstance, has access to quality, equitable education. I ran for the Board of Education because I believe that inclusion, empathy, and achievement should be the foundation of our school system. My goal is to continue building a school environment where all students feel empowered and where our policies reflect the values of this wonderful community. I would be honored to have your support. I'd also like to state that any comments I make tonight are of my own and do not represent that of the Board of Education. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Samia Mian.
My name is Samia Mian. I am a physician, a professor of medicine, a mother of three, a wife, and an active member of Cherry Hill community. I'm humbled to be joining the group of impressive folks wanting to run for the school board. My deep desire to help and make a difference in people's life led me to med school and devoted a significant part of my life to teaching of medicine. My husband and I moved to New Jersey about 16 years ago, and we have called Cherry Hill our home for over a decade. I'm running for the school board because I'm passionate about ensuring that every child in our school district receives quality education. As a mother, I've become more involved with the district and the board, attending meetings and actively working to understand the challenge and opportunities our schools face. As a physician, I have been trained to develop strong problem-solving skills, listen to various perspectives, and work collaboratively to find solutions that are evidence-based. As a parent, I'm deeply committed to three priorities: safe technology, strong reading and art program, as well as parental engagement.
Thank you. Next, Bridget Palmer.
Good evening. And first, I'd like to say thank you to both Zone PTA and the League of Women Voters for putting together tonight's forum. My name is Bridget Palmer. I'm running for a seat on the board, ballot position 3. And my reason for running is really simple. It's because I believe every child in Cherry Hill deserves not just a quality education, but the opportunity to learn in an environment that is safe, that is inclusive, that is respectful, and where they have access to whatever resources and support they need to thrive. My husband and I chose to move to Cherry Hill 10 years ago, in large part because of our schools, like many, many young families who move into our town. Today, our twins are 12. They are graduates of Thomas Paine. They are 7th graders at Carusi, and they're thriving. They're involved socially, academically, they're thriving. But I know that that's not the universal experience. That's not what every child in this town experiences. As a board member, it'll be my number one priority to do whatever we need to do to move us forward to that goal and get where we need to be. My professional experience, I think, makes me uniquely able to contribute and fill in some weaknesses that I think exist on the current board. So professionally, I've spent 20 years in communications, in government relations, and most recently in advocacy as well, particularly state level and budget advocacy. I think communications and community engagement, I think most people will agree that that's a room for significant improvement on the current board. And of course, the fight for fair funding never ends. As somebody who works for a predominantly government-funded nonprofit, I am no stranger to going to Trenton year in and year out to fight for our fair share. So that's what I'm committed to doing for Cherry Hill, and I look forward to doing that.
Thank you. Next, Omar Al-Kahili.
Hi, this is Omar. I am interested in joining the board to bring to the table 3 main themes that I would like to contribute to. One would be digital citizenship, the greatest threat and greatest potential for any community. Also working on the on-job training and financial literacy to students within the community to help them with opportunities as they move forward. And finally, communications, which is a hot topic in the district, where if we were able to structure communications in a way that holds us accountable, in a way where documentation and archiving is done, that makes it easy for everyone to contribute and track change and progress. I have over 15 years of serial entrepreneurship experience, mentioning wearing many hats and working with very limited resources to get the best outcome possible. Hopefully by next year, I would have completed my PhD program in Temple on media and communications. And honestly, I think this is a great school district, and my motivation to contribute, because it is a good school district that we need to contribute to maintain that momentum. And I'm a father of two, and I feel obliged when I see something working so well with so much potential to want to contribute to that and add to everyone's hard work. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Kurt Braddock.
Hello, everyone. Thank you to the Zone PTA and thank you to the League of Women Voters for holding this forum. My name is Kurt Braddock. In my career, I'm a professor of communication at American University in DC, but have made Cherry Hill my home now for about 5 years. One of the main reasons I'm here is I am a father of a new baby girl, little Abby. She's too young to know what's going on, but hi to Abby later. There's 3 reasons I really wanted to run for board. I've been coming to meetings for a long time, but there are 3 main goals that I really want to bring to the board, and I bring my expertise as a professor in communication doing so. Number 1, I want to use the expertise that I have in political communication to improve communication between the board and the public. I think there's a bit of a gap between how the board explains things to the public, and I'd like to use what I know about political communication to affect that. Second, in addition to being a teacher of more than 20 years at various levels, including teaching communication, I'm also a researcher, so I have data expertise and data analysis expertise, and I'd like to use that to optimize the way that decisions are made among the board, especially optimize financial decisions so not $1 of taxpayers is wasted. One of the more personal reasons that I wanted to join the board was to protect books and libraries. I want my daughter to go through a school system where she's able to read anything that she wants, and I want to help students overcome disinformation they are exposed to on a daily basis, not just in the school life, but in their personal life. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, Harvey Vasquez.
First, I would like to thank our Zone PTA and the League of Women Voters for providing us candidates with a forum to engage our community on important education topics. I would also like to take this opportunity to personally thank each and every one of my fellow candidates for taking valuable time away from their families in order to serve their community. My name is Harvey Vasquez. I am running for the Cherry Hill Township School Board, ballot number 2. I am a retired Army combat vet and retired federal officer. I bring a wealth of experience from my decade-long as Director for Customs and Border Protection, where I served as a liaison managing international and domestic trade relations. I am also an executive member for the Cherry Hill Special Education PTA and a devoted advocate for special education families. My personal journey advocating for my child with autism has highlighted the challenges many parents face within our district. My dedication to the special education community and my love for Cherry Hill inspired me to serve on the school board and make a meaningful impact. I believe in investing in local public education to ensure that the needs of all students are met. Our future goals must include providing a curriculum that is above the state average with a quantifiable database to measure success. My goal is to protect the rights of all of our students and foster a fair decision-making process representative of all. I believe that fair representation and decision-making process is essential. I will ensure that the school district administration protects the rights of our students to include those with disability and foster an environment where all students can thrive. Thank you.
Thank you. Dean Drizzen.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Dean Drizzen, and I also want to start with a note of gratitude to the Zone PTA and the League of Women Voters for organizing, to everyone watching tonight, and to the current board members and to all of the candidates. I think we're lucky as a community to have so many people interested in being on the board. I'm running because I want to provide a fresh perspective to the board. I'm deeply invested in the future success of this school district. I have 2 young children early in their educational journeys. My son is in 1st grade, my daughter is in pre-K, and I come from a family of educators. My grandmother and aunt were public school English teachers. My mom was a public elementary school principal for over 25 years, and my sister-in-law is a speech therapist. My mom in particular is a real role model for me. And in her over 25 years as a principal, her hard work, her commitment to data-driven continuous improvement, and the tireless support of the teachers led to success, ultimately to recognition as a national blue ribbon school. I want to do the same thing here in Cherry Hill. Professionally, my background, I'm trained as a physician and also have an MBA in healthcare management. I lead the corporate development office for a national nonprofit home healthcare company. I also serve as a primary care physician in the Navy Reserve. And I'm just really grateful to be here and have the opportunity to discuss with the other candidates how we can improve our school district. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Now we come to the question and answer portion of the forum, and I've used my discretion as moderator to select as many questions as possible in the available time from those that were submitted by Cherry Hill residents. We will have time to ask 8 to 10 of these questions this evening. Some of the questions submitted were similar to each other, so please don't be upset if your particular question is not used. Questions will be called in random order using a sequence I prepared in advance. My order is designed so that, as much as possible, no candidate falls in any position like first or last more often than the other candidates. Each candidate will have 1 minute to respond to each question with a 15-second warning. Our first question is, what qualifications do you have that make you an ideal board member? What assets will you bring to the board to strengthen it? And we will start with Bridget Palmer.
Okay, so I think the first thing, first and foremost, is the fact that I am a parent. I know a lot of us are. I have kids who have been through, at this point, both elementary and middle school, and have seen where things work well and where there is room for improvement. Professionally, I've spent almost my entire 20+ year career in communications and community relations. And I think, you know, what I hear is, as I talk to people and what I've seen firsthand, is that that is, I think, in many instances where the district and the current board fall short. I think, you know, miscommunication or a lack of transparency lends itself to a lack of trust, bad faith within the community, and really inhibits progress that we would otherwise be able to make. And more recently, I've spent a lot of time on budget advocacy. I work for a primarily government-funded nonprofit, and every year we go to Trenton with our hands out, asking for our fair share of funding. So to whatever extent I can, I look forward to supporting the district and improving our efforts there as well.
Thank you. Next, Ava Friedel.
I was an IEP student in the district that has recently graduated, and I currently have worked with neurotypical as well as neurodivergent children for the last 2 years. I believe that the assets that I can bring to the board would be a new perspective as a recent graduate. I'm currently seeking my degree in child psychology. I'm in my 2nd year of that, so I'm graduating with my associates in June. And I hope to be able to bring new perspective and help make changes that need to be made to our education system.
Thank you. Next, David Berkovich.
As an attorney, I advocate for my clients every day. I have the privilege of representing immigrants and injury victims. My experience in both those settings qualify me to excel in a position with the Board of Education. Specifically when it comes to budgeting, it's one of my chief concerns. We have a $250 million budget. We have many members in our community that are still coping with the inflation that has crippled the country the last few years, and as well as other personal situations. We don't need to add additional taxation to it. I think at a $250 million budget, we are well funded. And before we go into the community members' pockets, we need to explore every single avenue for alternative funding from state and federal. I am extremely qualified for that role, and I look forward to doing that if I have your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Samia Mian.
I think what's unique about me coming to the board is that my training as a healthcare provider accustoms me to really approaching a problem with evidence-based strategies. And utilizing that approach helps me to come up with a plan that can be tested over time, and then the progress can be measured. So that is what I think I would bring. And I have a deep desire to help the school district improve in certain areas and continue to improve in areas where they stand out. I am accustomed to evaluating complex issues and then coming up with a collaborative approach in addressing the solution. I'm overall committed to a holistic approach towards our children's well-being, and would like to apply that to that environment.
Thank you. Next, Kudzia Niaz.
So I guess I'll start by saying that I was also I'm a Cherry Hill alumni. I went to Crucy and I went to West. I was also an IEP student, so I'm well aware of the issues that special needs students face. I'm, like I stated in my intro, I'm a lifelong community advocate as well. I work with Musin. Currently, I work with Musin, which basically helps provide resources for individuals with disabilities. And I have been a community advocate long before that. I was a community advocate in college. And I have also advocated for people on an international level. I was an intern at the UN for about a year, and I advocated for disability rights and other underrepresented communities as well. I'm a current board member, and I've only been on the board for a couple months. And I would really like the opportunity to be on the board a little longer to showcase my qualifications.
Thank you. Next, Omar Al-Kahili.
I think what I wish to contribute would come from three main aspects that I bring to the table. One would be, I've done a quick calculation in my head. I think I've hired and taught over 500 individuals in the last 3 years. I kind of have an understanding of what output schools should have, or at least could have, for maximum potential for students. I have worked with multinational organizations such as Google and Procter & Gamble and whatnot. Again, what output works in the real world. And finally, it might be redundant from my intro. When you start multiple ventures on your own, you really don't have much budget to work with. And but you need to get the best output with what you have. That requires two main skills. One, negotiating or conversing what is what and what your priorities are. And the second is, I'm out of time. But prioritizing what is most important for the community.
Thank you. Next, Harvey Vasquez.
Hi, as I mentioned before, my personal journey advocating for my child has brought to light many challenges that parents within the special education face here in our school district. I see a lack of transition services for our students in pre-K, especially for those with special needs. A smooth transition must include the equation of support and services through proper assessments and evaluation early on in order to identify those students that may need help in progressing through the school curriculum. I believe that the school district budget should be representative of our student population. A detailed report based on statistical data should accompany any request for additional funds from the state. This may include revamping the current curriculum by ensuring first that all core classes required for graduations are included, and a deep study of those clubs or courses that are not required for the purpose of funding. The bottom line is that we receive the proper funding to begin with by engaging in budget talks early on in the school year. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Kurt Braddock.
Thank you. As I mentioned in my introduction, I feel I'm qualified because I have about 20 years as an educator in multiple levels, college all the way down to high school. I've taught high school students as well. And because of that, I know the needs of students, teachers, and parents, and all of them working together. from that, I have an understanding of what works and what doesn't. And I know how to evaluate education programs. So programs that don't work can be ditched, and programs that do work can gain additional resources. Again, as I mentioned in my intro, derived from data, not just our hunches. I didn't mention in my intro, some of the way that I do work is research, or some of the work I do is research on, is that red? Oh. All right.
Thank you. Dean Dreisen.
Thank you. As I mentioned in my introduction, I'm trained in both medicine and management. In my civilian career, I lead the corporate development office for a national nonprofit home healthcare company. I also work as a primary care physician in the Navy Reserve. In both roles, I have experience in data-driven continuous improvement. I think it demonstrates my commitment to community service and an ability to foster collaboration. I do have board experience, which will serve beneficial in this role. And lastly, as others have noted, though, as I mentioned, I'm a parent. I'm deeply invested in the success of this school district, and I'm willing to, put the effort in to help us all succeed. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question. If elected as a Board of Education member, what are your goals for the district? We will start with Samia Mian.
I have gathered my, I would say, assessment after experiencing the pandemic and what my children faced, as well as other families. My priorities are, number one, I would like to promote safe technology use in elementary schools. I think it has to be intentional with meaningful approach and measured progress over time to see if a task had a response to a specific technology innovation that was used. Secondly, I am a strong supporter for reading and arts program. I feel like reading is something that is foundation for our children's education. With our scores lacking behind, I feel that that's an area I would like to focus on and help this district come up with creative ideas. And lastly, I really am a strong supporter of parental engagement. Just like all of us here, I know there are so many parents in the community who would like to be part of this process and support the school district as it goes through different challenges.
Thank you. Next, Dean Dreisen.
Thank you. I think this may be the most important question that we discussed tonight. I think it's important for those listening to know that this is a particularly important year for the school board, because the next school board, those that you vote in tonight, will be part of approving the next 5-year strategic plan for the board. And so it's really important that we think about what goals we want for the school district. I would encourage everyone to Google the Cherry Hill Public Schools district goals. You may be surprised to see that nowhere, neither one of the 3 goals listed or any of the sub-bullets focus on academic excellence. This is a school board. My number one priority would be academic excellence, focusing on academic improvement initiatives. Second, it would be to increase community engagement, and we can do that through increased board transparency and collaboration with the community. Third, and finally, I'd be focused on safety and security. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next, Omar Al-Kahili.
I like your answer, Dean. I think 3 years is a long time. You could do so much. So if we break it down to things that we could do immediately, low-hanging fruits, if we resolve some of the pending frustrations, I think it's interesting how if we bring communication again as a topic, how long it has gone with the frustration of communication. And this is something that we could resolve immediately. On the long term, Cherry Hill is in a great strategic location where we could do great initiatives with the private sector that does not cost us a lot of money. And I'm very excited about that. Even if I'm not on the board, can someone get it done? On-job training, integrating with private sector. We're close to great, to large or successful companies, whether it's within Cherry Hill or within driving capacity. And so short term, let's resolve the frustrating issues immediately. Long term, let's integrate with the private sector to get great output from the schools.
Thank you. Next, David Berkovich.
I'd like to focus on three things if I'm elected to the Board of Education. I'd like to see greater communication from the board and the community. The board just completed a survey this past academic year where they got input from stakeholders about the communication, and that the results of that survey is available online. That's just one of the resources we can use to increase communication. There's many others, from the website to how agendas come out for our biweekly board meetings. I've had difficulty finding the agenda, and I attend meetings, so I can't imagine the average constituent trying to navigate it. In addition, academic achievement, we absolutely need to improve there. For those that are not familiar, the passing scores in West in math specific were remarkably low this past year. We need to improve. We need to hit that issue really hard. And additionally, financial responsibility. As I mentioned in previous response, that is absolutely a goal of mine. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Bridget Palmer.
Yeah, so I think we have quite a number of really important initiatives coming down the pike in the next year, especially. I think foremost for me is how we approach elementary redistricting. I think we learned some really important and hard lessons during middle school redistricting a few years ago. I want to see a process where stakeholders are engaged early and often, and reports are made on an ongoing basis. In my ideal world, I think we absolutely need to make sure that we do this in a way, and whatever the outcome is, we're minimizing the impact to the students, potential disruptions to families, that we're protecting neighborhoods to the best of our ability. I think the second, as Dean referenced, is really the strategic plan process for the district in the next year. And my hope there is that we can start to address issues like special education, SAC expansion. I know start times for high school is a big issue for a lot of parents. I think that's a place to start that conversation again. What is the future of pre-K? And addressing some of the glaring achievement gaps that we have in the district. So thank you.
Thank you. Next, Ava Friedel.
The first thing that I would address if I was elected to board would be having multiple forms of communications between the district and the parents, and not just the parents, but with the community members as well. Even those who do not have students in our district are still affected by the decisions that are being made by the Board of Education. Another thing that I would like to focus on if elected would be to make sure that everybody has inclusion and equal opportunity, no matter race, ethnicity, or disability. I feel like that is extremely important within the district, and I feel like that is something that we do well, but we can always improve. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Kudzia Niaz.
So if I was elected to the Board of Ed, I have 3 goals that I would like to continue to work on. And the first one is accessibility for all. The other one is academic achievement, high academic achievement. And the third one is equitable learning environment. With accessibility for all, it's to ensure all students, regardless of their ability, have necessary resources, improve access to better individualized education plans and assistive technology for students with special needs, provide fully accessible facilities and extracurricular opportunities for all, and then equip staff with training, support diverse learning and physical needs. With high academic achievement, address disparities in test scores, particularly across different socioeconomic and racial groups, focusing on rigorous coursework and targeted interventions to close achievement gaps, use assessments to guide student growth. With equitable learning environment, ensure every student receives the tailored support they need for success, and then prioritize inclusivity, especially for students with special needs. Implement targeted programs that address resource gaps, and distribute funding fairly across all schools. And finally, creating a large...
Thank you. Oh, time's up. Harvey Vasquez.
I have 3 goals that I would like to prioritize. One is education. Investing in our local public education is paramount. Our future goals, as I mentioned, must include providing a curriculum that is above the state average, with a quantifiable database to measure success. Quality education is the cornerstone of a prosperous community, and I am determined to make this a reality for Cherry Hill. My second goal would be the proper redistricting of students should be a top priority to alleviate overcrowding in some of our schools. Special emphasis must be placed on children with IEPs that are obligated to attend different schools than their siblings because of open enrollment. A balanced enrollment will ensure equitable access to outcomes with a focus on our most valuable learners. Busing must also be planned to where minimal travel is needed for students attending schools outside their home area. My third goal would be to establish a well-functioning special education department that collaborates effectively with staff and parents, fosters positive relationships with families, and strives for the best outcomes for students while developing streamlined programs. Thank you.
Thank you. Kurt Braddock.
Rather than reiterate what's already been said, I think I would say that academic excellence stands as kind of the catch-all goal for me if elected to the board, but there are a number of things I'd like to add to that. Primarily, I'd like to see the process on how academic excellence is achieved to be transparent and systematic, as I mentioned, driven by data. I'd like to ensure that academic excellence is equitable among all students, so all students succeed. In addition to this, I want to make sure that any decisions made are communicated to the public properly and to make sure that every dollar is optimized. And finally, in a time of strained political relations, I'd like to also make a goal to improve community among students and among parents. One of my research goals, which I started to mention in my last talk, was I research anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, LGBTQ hate, and I think there's a place to address those to improve community in the Cherry Hill district. Thank you.
Thank you. My next question. What personal conflicts of interest, if any, such as business contracts, employment arrangements, a close relative employed by the district, etc., would preclude you from participating in board votes on certain action items, such as vendors, budget, or human resource issues? And we will start with Kudzia Niaz.
So I have a family member that does work in the district, so that I do have a conflict of interest in regards to certain items. However, that conflict of interest is very limited to a certain amount, and it does not expand to other agenda items that we discuss.
Thank you. Next, Kurt Braddock.
I don't have any conflict of interest that I can think of. As much as I've loved living in Cherry Hill for the last 5 years, I have no family or close friends that would create a conflict of interest with any decisions I would make for the board. I'm proud to say that Abby would be the first one to go through the school system, so I'd be excited for that. And I don't think any of the research or teaching that I do for my university or other entities would create any conflicts of interest. So I can't think of any off the top of my head that would create any reasons that I wouldn't be able to vote on every initiative put forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Harvey Vasquez.
I have no conflicts of interest that would prevent me from voting on each topic and performing my duties as a Board of Education member in Cherry Hill. I think it's important that with my strong foundation in special education advocacy, as well as other challenging topics our district is facing, such as redistricting, budget, and closing the opportunity gap. So my understanding of these topics combined with my enthusiasm for collaborating with others shapes my approach to addressing these issues. Thank you.
Thank you. Bridget Palmer.
Yep, so this was actually a question that I asked very early on before I decided to file. To the best of my knowledge, I don't have any conflicts that would preclude me from voting on almost all board issues. In the interest of disclosure, the nonprofit that I work for does send a certain number of students or does receive a certain number of students that Cherry Hill sends out of district, students who are in special education. I do not work in that program. I am not paid through that program. I don't have any real interest or stake in that program. And so as I understand it, that would not be an issue.
Thank you. Next, Ava Friedel.
The only conflict of interest that I would have with the board is that my mother works for the state of New Jersey in early childhood education. This, however, would only affect me in topics that are related to preschool. Every other topic on the board, I would not have a conflict with. Thank you.
Thank you. Dean Dreisen.
Thank you. I'm not aware of any personal conflicts of interest.
Thank you. David Berkovich.
So my potential conflicts of interest would just stem from being Jewish. I am actively involved in the Cherry Hill Jewish community. I'm a board member of the JCRC, the Jewish Community Relations Council. I'm an active member of Cherry Hill Chabad, and I was involved in advocating for some students that were victims of anti-Semitism after the October 7th, horrific events of October 7th. One of those students, I believe, is in current litigation with the school district. So to the extent that would cause a conflict, that would be the only one. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Samia Mian.
I'm sorry, I'm not aware of any conditions or situations that would preclude me from voting on the board agenda items. I don't have any conflict of interest. If I anticipate, I would seek guidance from an ethics officer and disclose it and recuse myself. But as of now, I don't have any.
Thank you. Omar Al-Kahili.
I cannot think of any conflicts of interest. My child is I call him child. He's in school now. He's neurodivergent, so I guess he gets access to specific services. And I'm not sure if that classifies as a conflict of interest or not. But that's the only thing I could think of.
Thank you. My next question is, how many meetings of the Cherry Hill Board of Education have you attended in the past year? Obviously, your best guess will do here. We will start with Omar Al-Kahili.
I have attended 2 in person, and one of which was very heated. Other than that, I try to attend online, which is not a good experience. So I would only classify the 2 I attended in person.
Next, David Berkovich.
In the past year, I've attended approximately 5 in person. I have, in addition to that, I have logged in online and reviewed a number on YouTube after, but in person, approximately 5.
Kurt Braddock.
I've in the last year since actually I started going to the meetings after October 7th because I was concerned for the community. So that was the first. And since then I've attended between probably 10 and 14. I try to make comment as I'm there. If anybody ever watches online, I'm the guy that always mentions Wawa because I go there afterward. I've in those meetings, because I try to attend and at least make comment that might benefit the community in some way, either by sharing some research or some information that I have in relation to some of the things being discussed, or to try to discuss some of the things that are discussed online in relation to some of the school boards goings on that I feel are misrepresented and need to be either corrected or discussed further. So short answer is 10 to 14. Longer answer is 10 to 14 with comment and maybe 7 or 8.
Thank you. Ava Friedel.
In the past year, I've attended approximately 6 in-person meetings and 3 or 4 online. I would like to attend more, but with my schedule, it's a little bit busy. We're currently getting that worked out, though, at this moment, in case I am elected to the board. Thank you.
Thank you. Harvey Vasquez.
I feel as if that's an odd question to be asked in the forum because attendance to Board of Education meeting doesn't complement my fellow candidates here as to whether they're in fact vested into the issues that are facing our district right now. But to answer the question, I've attended many. I cannot keep count. I've also attended committee meetings. So yes, maybe 15 to 20, if not more. Thank you.
Thank you. Samia Mian.
I think I've attended maybe 5 to 6. I enjoy the committee meetings as well. I find them very useful, and I would say with comment maybe a couple, and that is when I actually shared the petition that I had circulated in the community in regards to safe technology use. So I would say 5 to 6.
Thank you. Bridget Palmer.
So I've been to a handful of meetings in person. Zoom is a godsend, as is YouTube. With two kids who are in a million activities, the online format is much more conducive, or has been much more conducive. But I do, and even if I can't be there, I look at the agenda, go back and watch the recordings as much as possible, just to get a sense of what's going on and what matters and what the conversation might be.
Dean Dreisen.
Thank you. I've attended one meeting in person. As others have noted, I'm grateful that the meetings are recorded and available for review on YouTube. I'd also just note that if the intent behind the question is also just to assess involvement in the community, I take pride in being an active member of the community. As a parent of young children, I'm often at drop-off, so interacting with parents and hearing what's going on in the schools. I was proud to be part of the group with the fire and police who planted the flags in front of the Catch JCC in honor of 9/11 recently. I think we're lucky as a community. There was just a recent transfer of the name USS New Jersey from the battleship New Jersey to the submarine New Jersey, and there was a great event there. So there's a lot of ways to demonstrate involvement and commitment to our community. And I would apply that same work ethic to the board if I have the opportunity to do so. Thank you.
Thank you. Kudzia Niaz.
Every single one. But I would like to state that before I was chosen for the Board of Ed, I did attend a lot of the meetings just to understand what are the issues that the community members have had, and to think about how I would address them. If you would ask my husband, he would say this is my second home. So, but yes, every single one.
Thank you. Cherry Hill test scores shows that many students are performing below proficiency in reading, but especially in math. What plans do you have to improve the academic performance of our schools? And we will start with David Berkovich.
Thank you. So I don't believe there's one answer. I think we need to approach it in a multifaceted manner. The first one is we need to identify as early as possible those who are falling behind. We don't need to wait to get those scores back to identify who might be having issues with math. Showed the most, had the lowest scores in West this past year, but it's not limited to math in any discipline, any academic area. Once we identify those that are falling behind, we need to throw resources at them. We need to get them extra instruction. We need to get them whatever resources they might need to excel. And finally, what's most important is really engaging teachers more, really getting feedback from the teachers, from the administrators at the local schools as what they feel is needed. As I mentioned, we got to build community together. That starts by engaging everyone.
Thank you. Next, Samia Mian.
In regards to math program, I think it's appropriate to get guidance from schools that have thriving programs. Currently, Massachusetts, it's the state which has the most strong academic programs. They have the highest scores in reading, math, and safety measurements. And they use a rigorous curriculum. They invest in their teachers. They are constantly doing professional development. And there are other parts of the school system as well that are geared towards achieving those goals. So it would have to be a multifaceted approach with identifying where the problem is and working closely with the teachers and the students to help achieve the goals. Thank you.
Thank you. Ava Friedel.
I want to start off by saying that I believe that our students are more than just a test score. One bad test score, one really good test score does not define who they are as a person. That being said, to help raise our test scores in the areas that they are needed, I would want to provide equal opportunity for tutoring to all students in district, whether that is peer tutoring, one-on-one with a teacher, either before school or after school, or even during lunch. I feel like that would be the best way to provide our students with the support that they need. Thank you.
Thank you. Dean Dreisen.
Thank you. I appreciate the question because as I noted, this would be my #1 goal on the board. And so I would approach the issue collaboratively. And just to build on the comment that was just made, I agree that a test score may not be reflective of a student's individual performance. Why I think test scores, these standardized tests are important and useful is they can provide district-wide insights in terms of where the gaps are and what the trends are. And so I do think it's important to leverage standardized tests and these test scores to inform data-driven analysis. I also think it's really important, and as I mentioned, my mom's my role model here in supporting the teachers tirelessly. Look to them for feedback on what we can do to improve. And then I think it's important that we set clear goals here. Sometimes I think some of the goals in the school district are 100% this, 100% that. That's more of a vision. I think we need to set clear, actionable goals that we can then hold ourselves accountable to and make meaningful progress year after year. So thank you.
Thank you. Omar Al-Kahili.
Generally my approach to issues, so this might be a repeated answer. Step number 1 is you need a clear problem definition. Statistics are useful and big data is useful to kind of tell you where to look, but that is not the problem. As Ava mentioned, is it just one test score? Are all the test scores not doing so well? So there are a specific set of questions you ask to clearly define your problem. Once you have a clear definition of the problem, it is easier to solve with a good use of resources. Second step would be, as I think Samia or Dr. Samia, you mentioned, we're not alone here. There are other people, other institutes, other organizations we could benchmark with who have had either similar issues like us or who do not have similar issues, but they're doing great. The third step would be holding ourselves accountable versus whatever setup we have made. And that really requires transparent communications, not 100% score visions. Thank you.
Thank you. Kudzia Niaz.
So I think we need to focus on data and continuously reviewing that data to see how our students are performing. I think looking at data every few years is not enough. Early interventions to identify students who are left behind. Personally, I would like to try to create a committee for special education. I feel like that a lot of the time special education gets put on the back burner when it comes to decisions that the board makes, and it's unintentional sometimes or most of the time, but we need to be intentional about making sure that their needs are met. For example, I feel that special needs students need to be able to go to their home schools. This ties into heavily into mental health and other issues that they face. Involving teachers and parents is another thing. And again, providing the support services, tutoring before and after school, and any other services that they need, and providing our teachers with the tools that they need to help our students be successful.
Thank you. Kurt Braddock.
Well, if there's one thing I've learned in my years of teaching, it's that different students learn differently. So I think one of the first steps need to be to talk to parents and students about their different abilities, about their different learning styles, and then take that information, go to teachers and see how we can accommodate those different learning styles and those different abilities to the best of our ability. From that, take resources, optimize resources to see what works under different conditions. For some students, peer tutoring might work. For some students, group work might work. So I think it's really important to get this information from students and parents and then try to operationalize it at the school level. Finally, I think something that gets overlooked is it's important for us to talk to our students about the issues they're experiencing personally in the schools, because low test scores or any other measure of excellence isn't always an academic issue. They might be going through something that nobody knows about and they're just waiting for somebody to ask them. So I think we need to address those issues as well, in addition to the academic shortfalls that we're seeing. Thank you.
Thank you. Bridget Palmer.
So there is no one size fits all solution to the academic achievement gap. We know where students are falling short, and we have clear data around different populations that seem to be struggling. And I think this is where, when I talk about making sure that students have the resources that they need to thrive, that individualization is really key. As a few people have said, test scores are absolutely not an indicator of intelligence or ability and willingness to learn. I think there are a lot of other factors, and you can see there are racial gaps. You can see there are gaps with students who are non-English speaking or may have non-English speaking parents at home, children with IEPs. There are a variety of issues. There may be mental health complexities. So we need to meet students where they are and ask ourselves, what we can give to this individual student that they're not getting that will help elevate them. And see what resources students need, or I'm sorry, what resources teachers need in order to better support those students.
Thank you. Harvey Vasquez.
This is a great question, and I'm glad that it was asked. If we take a look at the latest NJ GPA report that our district conducted, two of the most affected groups are African American and Hispanic student populations. Math graduation ready show these two groups at 42% and 32.4% respectively, compared to the Asian and white peers at 92% and 70%. We cannot continue to stand by and see our scores on state assessments consistently continue to go downhill in subjects such as math and ELA. And finally, but most importantly, students should be provided with academic support as they learn. Closing the opportunity gap is crucial, that all students, regardless of their race, ethnicity, socioeconomic status, or disability, have equal access to quality education. By addressing these disparities in resources and experiences, we can work towards a more equitable education system that benefits every student in our district. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question. Teacher retention is a challenge faced by Cherry Hill as well as other districts in New Jersey. What are some ideas you have to improve Cherry Hill's teacher retention rates? And we will start with Harvey Vasquez.
Thank you. Let me get yes. So as far as teacher retention, I know that increase in pay has been discussed in order to attract candidates to our district, but I honestly believe the issue is way beyond pay. Educators in some cases may feel as they do not have the proper supports in place to be able to educate our children. This creates an atmosphere of frustration, limiting what teachers are able to add and implement within their curriculum. These issues are especially prevalent within our special education classes. We frequently talk about transitioning our students and how challenging this has been. I will work with the administration on asking what the current protocols are in identifying students with additional needs for support service, and what steps are they taking to ensure those supports are present before they transition. This will ensure that teachers receiving these students are able to focus on curriculum, knowing that all support services such as additional staff or support devices are in place. More often than not, teachers are given responsibilities that aren't theirs to bear. Being a counselor and a behavioral therapist should not be part of their job description. Let's help teachers focus on what they know best, which is teaching. Thank you.
Thank you. Bridget Palmer.
So I think wages and benefits will always be part of that conversation. I think you get what you pay for, and you need to invest in quality educators. But it's a lot more than that. It's investing in teacher wellness. It's investing in opportunities for continuing education and professional development. I think even in my own life, that is incredibly invigorating to just be surrounded by peers and out of the classroom, or in a retreat day. And just making sure that we're talking to our teachers, that it's not an adversarial relationship, administration to teachers, teachers to students, students and parents to teachers. Keeping that conversation open and saying, what do you need? I commend the district and the board especially, because I feel like they've made investing in teacher wellness a priority. It's a stated goal, but making sure that teachers really have the resources they feel they need to thrive.
Thank you. Dean Dreisen.
Thank you. This situation, this challenge is not unique to education. As I work for a nonprofit home healthcare company, and in home healthcare, the challenge today and moving forward is going to be attracting and retaining caregivers to take care of everyone who wants to get care in their home. And what we found that while it certainly is multifactorial, what I love about where I work is the culture. And so culture is key here. I'm proud to work where I do because we're all share some core values and just love to be where we work. And I think that's really important when we think about this issue with regards to education. And I think it comes back to the fact that next year we get to decide on a 5-year strategic plan. I think that's a great opportunity to engage the teachers and make sure that they're buying in to our values and what goals we want to achieve. And that, I think, is going to attract and retain and keep them here if we really include them in the process. Thank you.
Thank you. Kurt Braddock.
Thank you. Teachers are burned out across every levels. Teachers are burned out. And I can't tell you how many times I've seen teachers at all levels doing things like spending their own money to get stuff for their classroom. First of all, most obviously probably resources for teachers to teach at their best, at their optimal level. And I would also advocate for more autonomy among the teachers to teach in the way that they see fit, so long as they're teaching the curriculum. I've talked to teachers who have felt though they're kind of boxed in the way they can teach, and teaching used to be a creative endeavor. And I'd like to make it that way again. Through visible support for the teachers from the board and school higher ups. I'd also like to somehow prioritize student teacher and parent teacher relationships, so that it's more than just a transaction between student and teacher, that they build the relationships between each other. So there's a trust there, so that students enjoy coming to their teachers and enjoy going to the classroom, which will make it a more enjoyable experience for teachers overall. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Kudzia Niaz.
So I think this is a very important question because I attribute a lot of my success to my teachers. I think that we need to have fair compensation for our teachers. I think we need to have effective training for our teachers. I think that we need to provide them with adequate resources to help students with their individual needs. I think they need to be involved in how to support our kids, especially with the goals that we set. They should be a part of that conversation. And making sure the student teacher ratio is good, because yes, teachers are overwhelmed, and it's overwhelming for the students too, and they're not being fairly educated. If given that the student ratio is so high.
Thank you. David Berkovich.
Yeah. It's simply not fair to ask teachers' salary to remain in place while everything in the world is going up. Unfortunately, we've gone through record inflation the last few years, and teachers' salary needs to match that. It's just the reality of the situation. And we need to constantly evaluate it. You know, I was at Costco the other day, and, you know, the chicken that I normally buy absolutely went up in price again. And, you know, while the board was actively looking at, you know, teacher salaries and benefit packages, it's something we need to continue to look at in the context of the economy at large. I think everybody can realize that regardless of what position you are, because it's affecting all sectors. Additionally, I'd like to see us foster more of a culture in Cherry Hill, right? That's the quality of the employment experience will keep teachers here. So create teacher appreciation, find out what teachers want to pursue, maybe an administrator track. You know, let's get creative. Let's keep the good teachers. Thank you.
Thank you. Ava Friedel.
As my fellow candidates have said, teachers definitely need to be a part of this conversation. I believe that we should review current policies to see how we can improve to best support our staff, as well as set them up for success, and definitely speak with our teachers on what they believe will help them be the most successful in the classroom. Thank you.
Thank you. Omar Al-Kahili.
I mean, ask the teachers, man. It's their issue. They need to be heard, right? And so it sounds pretty straightforward. It is complicated in execution, but retention is an issue everywhere. it is solved. There is no other way to solve it other than asking the people you're concerned about retaining. And then once you collect the data from them, attend to that. So whoever you asked needs to know that they have been heard. And then we need, again, back to communication. Some things we can do, some things we cannot, such is life. And so back to defining the problem, once we clearly understand where the issues are, where we can play, and then we benchmark, because we can't do 100% retention. Well, what is a good retention? Who knows what a good retention is? We don't know. Let's benchmark with good retention and go, okay, we want to get that retention. That's a good out. I always run out of time, my bad. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Samia Mian.
Thank you. I think this is a very, very important question that's affecting our district, and it is the sad reality. And I think strong emphasis needs to be placed on helping our teachers. Just like everyone else identified, we need to figure out why they are not staying and investing in the process that will actually be creative, as other people pointed out, for their growth, for their wellness, and supporting them throughout their journey, and definitely appreciating them for what they do. We as parents entrust our children in their surrounding during their school day, and we have to invest in their progress, in their well-being, just like how we want it for our children. So investment in teachers goes hand in hand with what's best for our children.
Thank you. The next question. Board members do not always see eye to eye. How will you work to build consensus on topics where there is disagreement? And we will start with Ava Friedel.
In a situation where I do not see eye to eye with another board member, I would ask clarifying questions on where they are coming from and why they have formed the opinion that they have formed. I would re-look over the data that we have been given and possibly ask to see more data to be able to further make my decision, and then sit down and have a calm conversation, preferably in private, and see if we can come to a mutual understanding on that disagreement. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Omar Al-Kahili.
The very first job I worked, someone taught me something that really worked with me for the next, we're approaching 20 years now. And he told me, listen, sometimes you're going to have 80% conviction, but give me 100% commitment. And such is life. I've worked a lot with different partners on projects, and sometimes you're convinced and you're given 100% commitment, but the difference happens or takes place when you're not convinced, but everyone else is on board. So when that happens, you need to give it 100% commitment, even though you are not 100% on board with the logic or the thinking. And that is something I'm very comfortable doing. That is something I have done before. Working with boards is not something I have no experience with. But at the end of the day, a decision needs to be made, and we need to move forward as a group. It was before time. Look at me, progress.
Thank you. Kudzia Niaz.
So I think that having transparency with the other board members, discussing issues with the other board members, and finding a common ground. I think it's also important to remember that we are a team, and we all have the best interest of the students at our heart. And we may have different ideas as to how different approaches as to how a certain situation needs to be dealt with. And we need to be open to different approaches, just because someone has a different view about something doesn't mean that that view is wrong. And, sharing our qualifications, working together with our qualifications to find the best solution forward.
Thank you. Kurt Braddock.
I think this is a great question because it's almost a microcosm of kind of the bigger atmosphere of political disagreement we're facing right now. But I think something that we can do on the board that many elected leaders, I'm not saying in Cherry Hill, but elsewhere don't do, is before you get into the discussion where you're trying to come to a conclusion, find a common agreement point, find some ground to actually agree on, and then work from there. Because in my experience, when you start with an agreement with somebody, no matter how small, you can build on that and then from there get to a consensus. I think it's also important to recognize that even if you disagree with somebody else on the board and you're at an impasse, both parties need to recognize that it's not going to be black and white. Neither party is going to get everything they want, but there's always some middle ground that can be found, and there's always a discussion to be had about these things. So being a bit more flexible, coming to common ground before you start the discussion, and recognize that you're not going to get everything you want, such as life, I think you can be much more productive for the board and ultimately much more productive for the students, which is the important thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Samia Mian.
I think it's something that we deal with in all our situations in life with children. We will have disagreements. We will not have the same point of view of the same situation. And you have to start out with expressing what you feel, what is your decision or assessment based on, and then looking at the other person with an open mind and accepting their position, and then coming up with a joint solution that can work out the situation in the best possible manner, keeping the well-being of our children in mind.
Thank you. Harvey Vasquez.
Yes, I think this is a great question because there seems to be some disparities within the current board. But in my role as an executive member of the Cherry Hill Special Education PTA and my previous experience as a director of Customs and Border Protection, I bring a deep understanding of communication. I have actively engaged with the administration already in my role as CHSEPTA executive member on a monthly basis, bringing to light, alongside the other executive members, many issues taking place within our special education community. I am confident that my ability to facilitate meaningful conversations will help create a platform for engagement, not only with other board members, but with our community and school administrators. Each individual board member should be able to put their own personal biases aside for the betterment of our student population. Reaching across to embrace each other's point of views fuels the motion of debate and compromise. And that's what I intend to do if elected. Thank you.
Thank you. Dean Dreisen.
Thank you. I actually attended a Quaker school, K through 12. I'm not Quaker, but in Quaker school, in my education, consensus was paramount. It was at the core of everything we did. And so when I went to business school and I was in a learning team in my first semester, I learned while working with others, it was an insight for me that I instinctively seek consensus just as a starting point, and others may not. And I recognize that that's sometimes not the most efficient way to make decisions, but it is core to who I am, is seeking consensus. I think one way to do that is to start by assuming positive intent. I think from a medical background, I use the term MRI, but instead of an imaging technique, it's most respectful interpretation. And we as a board can come together by just first identifying core values. You'll see that my campaign slogan is compassion, excellence, and reliability. Those are the core values that I bring to the table. In addition to excellence, it's really coming forward with compassion and reliability. And if we do that, we can then ground ourselves in common shared values and use data to guide our decision-making. Thank you.
Thank you. David Berkovich.
So as an attorney, this is something I do every day. To those not familiar with the role of an attorney, it's not, barking and yelling objection. It's a lot of it really is negotiating. A lot of it is coming to consensus with your adversary, because that's usually in the best interest of your client. In this situation, if I had the privilege of being elected to the board, the constituency is who I serve. And as I've mentioned today, I am running, and I'll be an advocate for those principles. But I also recognize that getting something done on the board requires 5 votes. There's 9 members on the board, can't be rigid. And those are skills that I have from my legal career, successful legal career. And I look forward to bringing that perspective to the board to further those goals that I put forward. And again, to build community together. Thank you.
Thank you. Bridget Palmer.
So at the end of the day, the board's job is to be the voice of the people, right? And work together to build a better future for our district and our students. But the board is made up of 9 individual people. And there will never be a situation where 100% of the people agree on 100% of the points that you're trying to get across. So you need board members who will come to the table open-minded, act in good faith. And I think it's really important that we do 2 things. One is listen to one another. And number 2 is don't take it personally, because we're bringing to the table different perspectives, different values, different knowledge bases. And I think the board will be the most effective and the best for our district when we're able to just sit down and reach consensus and get things done, because too often we don't get it done. And that's here, that's nationally, that's everywhere. So thank you.
Thank you. My next question, or the question from the Cherry Hill voters. With bond work well underway and a universal pre-K program in the early stages of implementation, the district's budget will require even more oversight than in previous years. What qualifications do you have to ensure the necessary oversight of the district's budget to ensure the appropriate use of taxpayer funds? And we will start with Dean Dreisen.
Sure. Thank you for the question. This leans into my MBA background. And so, I started out my career in healthcare investment banking in New York City. I then went into venture capital, where I invested in early stage healthcare startups. And now, as I mentioned, I lead the corporate development office for a national nonprofit home healthcare company. In all of those roles, I have significant experience with transactions, with diligencing those transactions, modeling out the different scenarios, and making sure that we're hitting our plan. And so I would take that same skill set, that expertise I have in financial modeling and transaction due diligence, and apply it to ensuring that we're being financially responsible with our budget. Thank you.
Thank you. Kudzia Niaz.
So as a current board member, I think that I'm well aware of the issues that we face within regards to our budget. And I have in the past contributed ideas as to how we can overcome those issues. I just think that my current work with the board qualifies me for that.
Thank you. Bridget Palmer.
So anyone who knows me will tell you that I am not a numbers person, right? And I would never profess to be. But what I am is a listener. And I am a journalist by training and trade, and that's what I went to school for. And I'm always seeking to know why we're doing something. Why is this important? How does it fall into the grand scheme of reaching our ultimate goals? And prioritizing, like, is this the most important thing for us for right now? I do think it's important. And I think you mentioned the bond. I think we've seen, what happens when we don't invest and when we don't, continue to invest in improving our infrastructure. We just kick the can down the road. And then we end up passing a gigantic bond referendum and raising taxes for everyone. So that's what I bring to the table is really digging in on details of why we're doing things, why they matter, so we can decide what is most important.
Thank you. Harvey Vasquez.
As a director for a federal agency, I've been responsible for a budget worth millions of dollars. Okay, as for the bond, I do believe more transparency is needed on how the administration uses the bond money on different projects. A dashboard or portal should be established whereby the community may track the progress on revamping our schools and to make sure their hard-earned tax dollars are going to those projects that were intended for. I cannot tell you enough the amount of public hearings and committee meetings I have attended, and I still can't understand exactly how the bond referendum money is being used. We as taxpayers trust our elected officials, but also want to have the means to understand what progress is being made. This was not a simple bond referendum. We are talking about a bond that was in excess of $300 million that cost each and every resident of Cherry Hill an increase in property taxes. It is only fair that our stakeholders are given transparency towards these projects, and if elected, I will ensure that that happens. Thank you.
David Berkovich.
Thank you. So as a small business owner, budgeting is paramount. It's something I do daily, weekly, monthly. I have nearly 10 employees that, their salaries are met because of my budgeting. I'm fortunate enough to have a successful law practice. And I believe the skills that I have in budgeting in that context absolutely transfer to the board. And one thing I'd like to point out is the preschool initiative. For 24-25, it's projected to cost the school $10 million. $7 million is supposed to come from the state, $3 million from our budget. But the state component isn't guaranteed. In Governor Murphy's leaving office in about a year. So do we have contingency plans in place for that budget windfall? Not that I know of. And that windfall could just grow as we invest more into the program. So those are one of the reasons why I'd like to be on the board and attack the budget issues. Thank you.
Thank you. Kurt Braddock.
Well, as I mentioned a couple of times already, part of my job as a researcher is to be a data analyst, and I'm happiest when I'm in a spreadsheet grinding the data. That's, I think, epitomized most by I was certified in data analysis and data science by Cornell University last year, part of which involved optimization of resources. So I have certification in optimization of monetary resources and other resources. In addition, as part of my job as a researcher, I'm responsible for writing federal grants. I've written grants for agencies in the UK and in Ireland, and I've had to manage those grants myself. Dating back to graduate school, I think I've probably been responsible for managing upwards of about $2 million in research money. And for anybody who's worked with federal money in the past, whether it be in the United States or Europe, they want to know where every dollar is, and they will not stop till they know where every dollar goes. So I've had to deal with that for the better part of the last 15 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Omar Al-Kahili.
I think I just want to build on what Harvey says about the dashboard and how that brings transparency. The response to that comment usually is, oh, it's very complicated to do. It is not complicated to build a dashboard that gives people or the public insight into details of numbers. It's just, do we want to build a dashboard that gives people insight or not? It is a very easy concept to do. Once people have access to information, you are no longer the smartest person in the room. And that is a good thing, because that means you get better contribution, you get better ideas. Unfortunately, I'm not as fortunate as you. I have seen businesses that make millions of dollars in revenue and still go down to zero. I have seen projections when they are done poorly, when budgets are done poorly. I know what happens next. So I think transparency is key.
Thank you. Ava Friedel.
While I have no previous experiences with budgets, I believe that it is extremely important that we keep in mind that we have no idea what the budget will be like in the following years while we are deciding where our finances should go. I would ask for the data and ask clarifying questions on why these are the decisions we are making and why this is what we are spending our money on before making my decision if elected to board. Thank you.
Thank you. Samia Mian.
I would like to start out by having a collaborative and established goals involving all the stakeholders, including the community members, and having transparency throughout all levels, sharing information at different stages so that they can be informed of how and where the money is going. And at the same time, continue to listen and come up with different creative ideas to utilize the resources. So that would be my approach at this time.
Thank you. We have time, I believe, for just one more question. Many school standards are set by the state of New Jersey. As a Board of Education member, how will you handle dealing with state school standards that you feel are either outdated or unrealistic? And we will start with Harvey Vasquez.
Sorry about that. I believe we may be limited on what we can do when it comes to state mandates. Not only that, but it would require the consensus of the full board to push back. What I'm saying is this would be something that would require the majority of the board to agree on. I could speak for myself that if I get elected, I promise to look at each topic closely and ask questions for clarification before I cast my vote. That I do have control of and does not require the rest of the board members to agree on. Thank you.
Thank you. Dean Dreisen.
Yes, similar to the question around teacher retention, we similarly experience in home health care challenges with state and national regulations. And so here, again, if we can achieve consensus on the board, I think that's where advocacy comes into play. And I know there's some other candidates here who are also experienced in advocacy. And so I think the important thing is if we're aligned that something is outdated, as the question asked, that we be strong advocates and push the state to make reforms where appropriate. And with my remaining time, I just wanted to go back to the prior question and just note that I really do agree with Harvey and Omar. The question around the bond, I focused on my background, but the need for transparency is key here. That was my second goal for next year. And having that dashboard, it's something that we have routinely in diligence projects for transactions. And as Omar noted, it's something that we certainly can have with regards to the bond. Thank you.
Thank you. Ava Friedel.
I believe that the first step that we would have to take in that situation would be to talk with our students and staff and ask questions on how we can best support them to best prepare for a situation where we feel that the testing is unfair or outdated. From there, I feel like as a board, we would have to sit down and come up with a plan to help implement the feedback we got from our students and staff. And then I would ask clarifying questions on anything that I was confused about in order to make the best decision I feel for our students. Thank you.
Thank you. Next would be Omar Al-Kahili.
I think the question is who says that a specific legislation or a concept is outdated?
Would you want me to repeat the question?
No, that was my answer.
Oh,
Says
okay,
who?
sorry.
I don't think the board, 9 people or whoever, I mean, have the autonomy to make such a big decision, but it must have come, that conclusion must have come from a large number of people. And if that is the case, then this is something that we need to work between the board and civic engagement, where masses, depending on the issue at hand, that they need to contribute to push back against the state. I am not sure if this is something that the board should single-handedly decide on and act upon without getting enough engagement from the community.
Thank you. Kurt Braddock.
Thank you. Well, I think this really needs to be a two-pronged attack, building on what Ava and Omar talked about quite a bit. Number one, I love the idea of engaging with teachers and engaging with students to see how we deal with the hand that we're dealt. How do we achieve those standards in a better way that makes sense for the teachers and the students? That's number one. Number two, I think that we gather data on why certain academic standards may be outdated, and then we go to Trenton and we say, why are these standards still being used? And I also agree that that might be a bit of a stretch for a single school board. So I would also advocate for engaging with other school boards in South Jersey or in North Jersey. Let's build a consensus among different school boards. And if they feel that academic standards are outdated, then we go to Trenton with a stronger hand and try to demonstrate why those standards might need to be changed to better accommodate students and to better achieve academic excellence for all students. Thank you.
Thank you. Bridget Palmer.
So those decisions, those policies are not set in darkness. They are not set in a vacuum. There is always an opportunity to engage, whether it's, the state or federal Department of Education, whether it's the New Jersey State Board of Education, whatever level of government is setting that policy, maybe it's the legislature. We always have a voice. And I think even if it's not us as individual board members supporting the school board president, supporting Dr. Morton, directing Dr. Morton to go and testify and advocate, galvanizing parents, leveraging trade organizations, galvanizing PTAs and teachers unions, whatever stakeholders are involved, there's always something that we can do. Laws can be changed, policies can be amended. So if it truly is outdated, an unfunded mandate, something that is deterring our ultimate goal of providing the best possible education for our students, we need to explain why that is and find solutions to fix it.
Thank you. Samia Mian.
So as others have pointed out very respectfully, that it has to start at the level of the students and the teachers, the curriculum or the standards that is deemed to be outdated has to be identified, and the reason has to be gathered. And once all that information is there, it can be shared with other schools to come up with a plan and see what can be done to change it. And it should not be left to it just being an outdated curriculum. It should be addressed. This is why I think we have to work and advocate for changes. We cannot accept things as they are.
Thank you. Kudzia Niaz.
I think, again, going back to looking at data again and looking at the test scores on a regular basis, I think is important. Transparency, I think, about those test scores is also important. And then, getting input from our teachers. I feel like our teachers know their students the best, and getting input from them as to how we can help those students is important. Providing resources for them as well. And then just understanding that not all students are great test takers. I certainly wasn't. And it's not the only indicator of success.
Thank you. David Berkovich.
Yeah, I think I understood the question a little differently than other candidates. My interpretation with tough standards or standards that we don't agree with as a board member isn't just necessarily testing. It could, I mean, state imposed standards can go into various other things, from safety to classroom size and many other things. And we as board members might think it's unrealistic. And just to be honest with the constituents, that would be a tall task, right? To fight the state on an issue that, especially if there's funding attached to it, right? If they're saying we got to do X, Y, and Z to get a certain amount of funding, it's a tall task, right? We would need a lot of constituencies letting us know, hey, this is the hill we want you to fight on. And so I would say, absent that, I think time is focused on, hey, how do we implement whatever the state wants us to, even though it's silly, with the least impact on our constituents, with the least impact on how our school thrives. That's how I would handle that. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we now come to the closing statement portion of our forum. Each candidate will have 90 seconds for a closing statement, and these have also been predetermined. The order has been predetermined prior to this forum. And the timekeeper will give a 15-second warning. So we will start with Ava Friedel.
I would like to start off by thanking the Women's Voters League, the Zone PTA, my fellow candidates, and those of you watching at home for your time this evening. As a recent graduate and my background as a student with an IEP, advocating for my needs and the people around me, and my continued work with neurotypical and neurodivergent children, most of which are in district currently, I believe that would help me to advocate for the needs of our staff and our students. I will ask questions about topics that I am less knowledgeable about to make sure that, and as well as making sure that all of our students have a voice and that their voices are heard and taken into considerations when making decisions. I will ask as many questions as needed and ask to see more data if needed before casting my vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Dean Dryton.
Thank you. Again, I'll start out with gratitude to the organizers, to those watching, and again, just to my fellow candidates, because this is a significant time commitment, and I just really appreciate everyone's interest in serving the community in this way. To those watching, I would just return to the point that, again, next year's board is going to set the new strategic 5-year plan for the school district. And so I was pleased to see that a number of the candidates here are focused on academic excellence. Nowhere is that listed right now on the current school district goals, and I think it needs to be a focus moving forward. The other priorities that have been discussed: increased transparency, whether it's regarding the strategic plan, whether it's regarding the bond, in general, board transparency. And third, something that we didn't really discuss tonight is safety and well-being on our campuses. That's just, as a parent of children and for all children in our community, that's always a priority. And so I appreciate everyone taking the time to listen tonight. I'm ballot position number 1, and I would appreciate your support. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Samia Mian.
I'd like to start out by thanking the League of Women Voters, as well as the Cherry Hill Zone PTA, as well all the fellow candidates and everybody who's watching at home. I appreciate the time and the opportunity to be given tonight to speak to everybody and be part of this important conversation. It is clear that we all deeply care about our children and our school system, and we want it to thrive, and we want what's best for them. My career as a physician accustoms me to the process of thoughtful decision-making that is evidence-based, and I will use the same approach for the well-being of our children. If elected, I will continue to listen, learn, and advocate for policies that reflect the need of our community. I don't have all the answers, but I am committed to finding solutions. I believe that with safe technology use, strong parental engagement, and enhanced reading and arts programs, we can build a more inclusive and an enriching educational experience. Thank you for the support, and I look forward to working with all of you in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Kurt Braddock.
Well, I'm going to echo my fellow candidates here in thanking the League of Women Voters, thanking the Zone PTA, and coming with a little bit of an admission that I came into this a bit nervous, I have to say, I guess because I didn't know what to expect. But after having heard everybody's statements, I'm very pleased with the other candidates as well. I think it'll be a great board regardless. I'd like to close with the reasons that I'd like your vote. Ballot position number 4. A lot of people have talked about transparency, and I'm a specialist in communication, especially political communication and engaging with communities. A lot of people have talked about using data to make decisions, and that's literally the job that I do every day, in analyzing data related to individual attitudes and the ways that we can better improve certain outcomes. I'm a specialist in optimization, so I can help to make every dollar spent better. And I spent my career defending the victimized, the bullied, the intimidated, the hurt, the killed. And I think that there is a space for that in schools as well, in a sense that I want to help students who feel as though they're marginalized or victimized feel at home in Cherry Hill Public Schools. So for all those reasons, I hope you'll vote for me, ballot position number 4, Kurt Braddock, and thank you again to the hosts of this. Thank you.
Thank you. Bridget Palmer.
Sure. I also want to just thank all of you for putting this together, and thank everyone who's tuned in. The school board plays an incredibly important role in our community. Not only is it responsible for setting the vision for what our schools and our students will look like for decades to come, but we're also responsible for more than half of your property tax bill. We are stewards of an enormous budget that does impact, your bottom line. That is a huge responsibility, and one that I take very seriously. At the end of the day, I think we have really important issues on the horizon: elementary redistricting, issues around SAC, the future of our pre-K program, and the strategic vision for our next few years. It's important that we have people at the table who are willing to listen, who are willing to talk, who are willing to negotiate in good faith, build consensus, and at the end of the day, make the right decisions for our children. I think we spend a lot of time talking about the sins of the past when we talk about the school district and the board. I'm focused on the future. I trust Dr. Morton, but he is human. He is not perfect, nor are the people in his administration. And I think that's the board's role, is ultimately to hold them accountable, keep them honest, and make sure that they're acting in the best interest of our students, our teachers, our families, in everything that they do. Thank you.
Thank you. Omar Al-Kahili.
I think we gathered by now. I'm not a good speaker. There's a specific space that I'm trying to contribute to within the board, getting students to be life ready. That is where the majority of my focus is on. That is where my experience is in. I'm a pretty pragmatic person. I just want to get stuff done. And I'm actually, similar to the tone in the room. I'm pretty pleased to the people sitting next to me. And I feel very comfortable, at least as a father, that some good minds or great minds are coming together to try to work and do the best we can. It's a good school district. The problem is good is the enemy of great, and we need that consistent passion to work hard to really elevate the school district and its outcome. It could be school grades, it could be something else, but the output needs to be strong in terms of being life ready. I think that's the general consensus, I hope.
Thank you. Kudzia Niaz.
So I would also like to take this opportunity to thank you all to share my vision. Again, as a current board member, I focused on fostering inclusion and accessibility to ensure that every student is supported. My work on the board has been driven by the goal of creating a fair and equitable school system that empowers all students to succeed. I'm excited to continue working alongside the community to shape a brighter future for Cherry Hill schools, whether it's in this capacity or any other capacity. As someone who grew up overcoming challenges, I understand the importance of representation in policies that address the diverse needs of our students by continuing to advocate for inclusive practices and high educational standards. We can create an environment where every student has the opportunity to thrive. I would also like to state that in regards to my conflict of interest, I do currently have a conflict of interest, but the family member that I have a conflict of interest I have for is eligible for retirement, so they will be retiring. So that conflict of interest will not be prevalent in my new term if I am selected. Again, thank you for your time and support. I am number 5 on the ballot, and I hope that you find me worthy of your vote.
Thank you. Harvey Vasquez.
Yes, first of all, again, I want to thank the Zone PTA, the League of Women's Voter, and those of you watching at home for granting us the opportunity as candidates to discuss these important topics as it relates to the education within Cherry Hill. I've had the honor of speaking at many Board of Education public hearings, and I don't think it's a secret how passionate I am about special education. Okay, so I have also been a guest speaker as an ambassador to the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia on the topic of parents' advocacy within a medical environment. So my personal experience advocating for services has cemented the notion that many more parents within our district face similar challenges. I have dedicated my entire adult life to protecting and serving those in need, and I will continue to do so. This personal passion reflects my commitment to the betterment of our community. Thank you for considering me, Harvey Vasquez, ballot number 2, as your candidate for the Cherry Hill Township School Board. Together, we can make a difference and create a brighter future for all of our students. Thank you.
Thank you. David Berkovich.
I'd like to start out by saying how we have an embarrassment of riches up here. What an amazing group of candidates. I didn't know the background of so many candidates, and like others have said, win or lose, I have great confidence in my kids are in the Cherry Hill school system. I have great confidence in them continuing to get a great education, because look at the people running to better this school system. I would ask for your vote for me. I am running on the platform of building community together. I'm ballot position number 8, and you'll see that slogan right next to my name. As I mentioned in my intro, I firmly believe that requires us engaging in all cohorts in the community. And as I wear multiple hats in my everyday life, I'm prepared to wear multiple hats to ensure that happens. Whether I need to take advice from somebody who is more knowledgeable in a given area, something I do every day, or whether I need to get involved in budgeting or other facets. I will add that in my priorities in being elected, fiscal responsibility, academic achievement, and communication are all goals I intend to tackle if elected and if privileged enough to get your vote. As a father of 3 kids and someone who has married into the Cherry Hill School District, I thank you for the opportunity to be at this forum and thank everyone for being involved.
Thank you. The League of Women Voters of Camden County and the Cherry Hill Zone PTA extend their sincere gratitude to the candidates for participating in this forum and to the audience members who joined us online in order to better inform themselves about this election. Remember to vote on Election Day, Tuesday, November 5th, or by mail-in ballot, or by in-person early voting Saturday, October 26th through Sunday, November 3rd. Thank you, and please encourage your friends and neighbors to vote as well.